So yes, my mother's controlling. But at the same time, she was there for me when my father wasn't. Well, long story kind of short, I moved out, got myself, well, a big person job, started getting paid really well, and that's when my mother decides to hit me up out of the blue and say, hey, you know the money that you send me every month to help me out? Well, since you got this new job, you can pay me a lot more. Guys, that's not the craziest part about the story, though. I'm going to tell you the nerve that this mother had to say, and you probably won't believe it.
What would you do if either of your parents asked you to pay for your upbringing? Sounds extremely ridiculous, right? Well, that's how I feel right now as I'm writing this, and I'm okay with life playing all kinds of games with me because I've seen how people go through so many different, ridiculous, and irksome things in this era where we're all connected with billions of people worldwide sharing their crappy experiences and stories. But how am I supposed to share this mind-boggling thing that I'm asked to pay for my upbringing with my parents? You know, correcting one of them only, and before I really get into this, let me begin from the beginning itself. Hi, this is Richard. I'm 26 years old, male, who recently found out about this site. I never thought I'd share what I'm going through here, but I'm doing it now. Anyways, I've been living with my mother, who, after my dad just left, took it upon herself to live in a delusion for all her life. I'm sorry, I don't know how to get straight to the point, but I'm trying, so please bear with me. My mom, Linda, and my dad, Noah, worked at the same company but in different departments. There was no probability for them to meet at work, so they met at a company's cafeteria. It was entirely coincidental. They had a habit of going to the cafe during lunchtime because none of them would carry their lunch, and after some frequent visits, they came to recognize one another. They quickly became friends and shared their Facebook identifications and numbers. When my mom was sober from her delusion in those days, she would be excited to tell and retell her romance with Dad in their, quote, dating days, as she would call it. My mom stalked my father before she came to confess her feelings, and they got married. It sounds as if my dad was just waiting for the green light for this to happen. But you see, why am I telling you all this, right? You may notice that my mom is almost like a trailblazer, and my dad, on the other hand, has been a lingerer. I used to think that two people did not have to be compatible enough to get married in the first place, and now I've taken a different course of action after my mom and dad separated, after more than a decade of living together. My mom has a mother who lives just a few kilometers away from our home, while my dad doesn't really have a family, as his distant aunt and uncle brought him up after his parents died in an accident. So, when I was born in the initial days, my mom would drop me off at Grandma's place, where they would continue dropping me off until I was 10 years of age, or old enough to lock the doors and not invite strangers inside the house. Sometimes my grandma would also come to live with us, which made it easier for Mom and Dad to continue their lives hassle-free. I think either the hassle or the money, it drives a wedge between people, or maybe both. You can decide after listening to more of what I have to say. My parents carried on a, quote, happy married life until the recession. It was the recession that made my mother lose her job, as she was practically fired while my dad continued to work. I was 13 when all this went down. I was going to be a high schooler soon, and there was no chance of an increase in my dad's salary. So they might have been in a company, but what would one do when the company's been going downward for the past few months, or heck, even years for that matter? The recession drastically altered our lives. My mother, a hard-working woman, was turning into a homebody chatterbox. It was something of a new side I'd come to see in my mother. In simpler words, she had come to like the time she spent at home doing nothing, watching TV or idly texting her clique from her previous office. In all those years when she was working hard in the corporate field, which is still a sick field, extremely capital-driven and squeezes the crap out of people, my mom found no sense of relief or peace from the work that she had often. After being at home, she had become part of a gaggle of women in the neighborhood who would play cards and just gossip about the household or this household or that. They were wealthy women, and all of mostly them have been in their late 40s and early 50s, living on the expenses of their inherited assets, husbands or fathers. This circle influenced my mother, or perhaps she always had this in her, to unnecessarily flaunt and be a showboat. So she started buying luxurious items. It started from small things like a watch, which my mom stopped wearing after she became a homestay, to big things like an air conditioner. We already had two, one in my room and the other in my parents' room, but my mom insisted on having a third in the living room because she wanted to invite her circle of women to our house. She bought it without my dad's knowledge, leading to a massive dispute between the two, and it did not stop my mom there. After the air cooled down between them, she impulsively insisted on buying a new car for herself. What could my dad have done except refuse her demand flat out? She spent all her savings so she could meet the standards of the ladies in the gaggle, but now she was also using Dad's credit card to buy things as she gave in to her, quote, impulsive buying behavior. My dad's stress levels started to increase, leading to high blood pressure issues. He was slowly sliding into unhealthiness while my mom continued to flaunt what she could not have without taking out loans. Yeah, my mom's obsession with luxurious possessions had reached a summit. She had started going to weekly kiddie parties. Well, she should have been thinking about saving the money for Dad's treatment and my education. Gladly, she was still sensitive enough to take Dad to the hospital and buy his medicines. Yet, she did not stop buying things. Our debt situation worsened, and so did my dad's health. He was forced to quit his job, which led to more conflict in the house, since my mom had many more irrational demands that my dad was not able to provide for. Thinking he could not bear it any longer, my dad decided to file for divorce. Mom seemed to be in a bit of shock for the coming few days, and after this, she stood back on her feet somewhat in the blink of an eye. My dad moved to his ancestral house, left by his parents for him in the countryside, where his distant cousins also live. I have not seen him since then, but only now, and then would he call or send me emails asking about my mom's well-being. Well, it was a lot for me to take as a newly turned teenager, but it was much rougher for my mother. She gave in to alcohol and found a job as a cashier at a supermarket nearby, and she did not tell anyone in the neighborhood, though, and only said that she had found a job at a decent company. The supermarket was a few kilometers away, so she was relieved since we already had a supermarket in our neighborhood as well. And why would someone go to a different supermarket than further away? All in all, even though my mom worked, she was terrible at saving. She was broke before the end of the month, and she had already spent all the money after the division of assets between Dad and Mom during their divorce. It continued until I turned 16. I started working in a patisserie, aka a bakery, and I had to admit, but my mom made me do it part-time. I continued to work alongside schooling and then college, and this year, as I turned 26, I also found a job at a decent company outside the city. I was asked to move, and I did, and I had to do it because it was gruesome to stay at home with an alcoholic mother who could not care less about her pending debts and was seeking more. I've been supporting my mom by sending her money each month, and I landed this opportunity to work. However, I've received this strange email from my mom, who asked me to pay her for my upbringing, which she did not even do right, and I must underline every month in addition to the support money I'm already sending her. My first reaction to her email was, "Are you kidding me?" I don't know what the heck this is and why, and I'm seeking genuine suggestions here. Though you're welcome to laugh your freaking butts off at my situation, I'm already losing my head, not knowing how to handle this since I already paid her a decent sum. I don't understand why she's asking for more, and I feel something's off. So maybe some support or suggestions might help me. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So today's story has 4 updates, and I'll tell you right now, man, OP's in a tough position. An alcoholic mother and just struggling throughout some parts of the life. We're going to hop into update number 1, but if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for daily videos, and here's your first update. I read through all the suggestions, and the most common was simply talking to my mom. Well, I appreciate all the advice and laughter about my situation. Hi. I'm still in a dilemma about what I should do about my mom. I've already told you about my situation with my mom, who's a divorcee, has been living on her own for the past few months as I've moved to a different city for work. I send money monthly to my mother so she won't have to face any issues with her finances, since she's so horrible at managing. Almost a week ago, I received this email from my mom, who asked me to pay her for my upbringing. Initially, I simply texted her asking if she needed more money. Why is she asking for more, though? Is she unable to pay her debts? She didn't answer clearly and only said that it's her right to be paid because she's brought up a child, and the child now has to pay back. I wanted to ask if she has lost her mind, because how could she make a demand like this? Let me tell you why her demand is insane. Picture this. You're 16 and your dad has left you and your mom to survive alone. Although he paid child support, that does not solve any problems. I had no dad to support me when I was in high school, nor did I have one when I got into university. My mom may be the one slowly destroying her life, yes, but she was there to support me emotionally, if not financially. She stood up for me against the bullies because she was not one herself. She is the only one I have, you see, who listens to me even when she has been the one making my life hard. I know, it's a bizarre relationship where my mom is making me do the job so I can help her with her debts, but at the same time, I'm also glad that at least I have a mom. If not both dad and mom. However, she has also been controlling of my life, from deciding what I should wear since she cares a lot about her quote image in the neighborhood, to giving me high school and university options. She especially becomes overbearing when it comes to spending money. After getting into a good university, I plan on buying a new pair of shoes and some clothes using my savings from doing part-time jobs. But Linda, my mom, overheard me talking to my friend about it and did not like the idea. One day, as I was watching TV in the living room, she sat beside me, and I looked at her and suddenly paused the channel. She smiled at me, which was kind of eerie, then asked me whether I was planning to buy new things. I was surprised, knowing she had a habit of overhearing my conversation with my friends. Well, she told me I should not do, quote, impulsive buying, and my reaction was, excuse me? She had that buying syndrome, and I don't yet, and she asked me not to buy anything new because I already have expensive clothes and shoes. I told her that they had worn out, but her argument was that we should only buy branded things, and since we don't have money right now for that, we should restrain ourselves from buying anything. Well, I agreed, knowing that she was not only right, but also astute. She wanted me to pay her debt as usual from my savings. Nevertheless, I'm still very emotionally connected to my mom, so I called her, asking why she was pressuring me to pay her more in the name of parenting, and I'm glad she picked up the phone. But not so glad, as she said later. I told her that I did not earn that much right now, and we already have so much debt to pay for, so how could she ask for money when I'm already paying her enough? She said, and I quote, "I will disown you." And she hung up, and how easy was it for her to say this, I wonder? I'm planning to dig deep into this problem now. Update number 2. In the last update, I told you I was planning to find out exactly what happened to my mother. I came home yesterday as weekends are off and found my mom playing cards with her kitty party friends in the street. She was so delighted to see me that she jumped off her chair and shouted that her son had acquired a great position in a big company. Well, I was taken aback since I had not acquired a position that could be boasted about just yet. She insisted on me sitting with her friends, but I told her I wanted to spend some time with her since I only had the weekend. She bid farewell to her friends and we went inside the house. Her expression changed completely as she asked, "Are you here because of that?" I said yes. She went on to sit on the couch while I sat beside her, and I told her that she could not do this with me. I can't pay her any more than I already do. Even if I have a job, I'm in a dire situation and most of my salary goes into paying off her debts and providing for her. I could not even ask her to work because Mom had back pain issues, and she stopped working when I got out of university. I strove for a whole year before getting hired at my current company, and I told her it was already hard for me, and this demand simply did not make any sense. She argued that kids should pay their debt to their parents for all the years of parenting, or else they should move out before hitting 20. She further told me that she had moved out of her mother's house after turning 19 and started working to support herself. I asked whether grandmother ever charged for parenting, and she just looked at me with a dejected look. I held her hand and asked again about the truth. Why did she ask for more money? And she looked at me with a teardrop rolling down her cheek, and in the blink of an eye she was weeping. She wept some more, and I consoled her. Then she just started speaking in a low tone, saying she was in huge debt, and I almost felt tired after I realized the reason. But there was more to it. She admitted to buying some shares of a company that she did not know actually was going downhill. She had come to hear that the company was famous and sold its shares at a lower price for only a limited time. My mom thought that after buying some shares, she would soon start earning money from the profit of it going up, and could pay off her debt for her own. She accepted the fact that she's made me earn money to support her in paying off the debt. I said it was fine, as long as she had come to realize her mistakes. I would pay the loan since the interest would not be much, but she looked at me, surprised, and hugged me immediately. I asked her for the name of the bank that she took the loan from, and I can't tell you the look on her face. She was freaked out. I asked her what the problem was, and she said again in a low tone, almost faint, that she had crossed the limit of taking loans from banks and could not take more before paying off her previous ones. So she took some loans from moneylenders. She took loans from so-called loan sharks. For real. I was so mad I started shouting at her, saying I thought I would die paying her debts alone. She started weeping loudly, and I went into the kitchen to calm myself down, and she came there and simply apologized to me. I asked her about the loan and interest, listening to which I saw my soul leaving my body. I could not feel my feet any longer. I sat on the kitchen floor while asking her to leave me alone for a while. It's Sunday already, and I don't know what to do. Update number 3. I was so satisfied with this one suggestion. You guys are serious saviors. This is the only solution that can be reasonable and safe for me and my mom. Some of you said I should have gotten the police involved, but I could not because that would not have been safe. We could not trust the moneylenders. Anyways, I liked the suggestion to sell all the unimportant luxury items my mom had bought over the past few years. I discussed this idea with my mother, who was very much against it at first. She didn't like the idea of losing her face in front of her friends in the neighborhood, and unfortunately there was no other way to deal with this crappy situation. Going against her will, I sold most of her things and some remained. Still, I had a couple $1,000s in the bank, and for the past month I visit my mom every weekend, and ensured that everything unnecessary and expensive was sold. I took a loan from one of my best friends and collected the whole amount that was to be paid to those moneylenders. You see, I went to pay the money and it went smoothly because to avoid any problems, I had already added some extra money to give them. The situation was completely resolved, but you know what I found out about the other day? My mom was a liar. When I returned after dealing with the moneylenders, my mom was waiting for me by the stairs outside our home. Some of her female friends came to say hi to her, and they saw me and delightfully complimented my looks. Then, as I was about to enter the door, I left Mom behind, who was still chatting, and I heard one of the ladies say, and I quote, "Oh, did you buy those shares, Linda? The ones we told you about?" I was surprised to hear this, and my mom refused, but I knew the cat was out of the bag. I went inside and waited for Mom to finish her chats, and then she came and sat down beside me, asking how the deal with the moneylenders went. I said it went okay, and I quote, "The situation's resolved, Mother. Now, I want the truth." She looked at me in amazement and said she had told me the truth. I started avoiding her throughout the day, and as usual, she eventually came weeping as I was about to leave the next day, which was Sunday, and she told me she heard about the shares from the ladies, and they were all flaunting their money to buy them. Mom felt the urgency to show that she could also buy them since her impulsive buying had slowed since I left the city. She admitted she just wanted to show off per usual. So, she went ahead and bought the shares without even knowing anything in depth about the company, and I wonder how she did at her company if she wasn't interested in learning how the company was doing. The recession should have been a wake-up call for her, but I think it's waking up the showboat sleeping inside my mom for I don't know how long. In the end, I snapped after listening to my mom's confession and felt sick to my stomach that she even lied to me about how she bought the shares to share my burden. I left the house immediately. Update number 4. This is the final update. It's going to be my final update for sure. I've returned for an update after such a long time, but I couldn't help it. I could not handle the pain that my mom's caused me, and I found solace in reading your comments, which were so empathetic. You see, my mom never really cared about me. Maybe I was the one living a delusional life, thinking that my mom was there for me. She was there because I was there for her, not the other way around. She made me work, and she made me pay her debts, and she sought more loans, and she got into trouble, and in doing all this, she did not think of me once. She even lied to me about how horrible it was to live with that reality. My mom had threatened me to pay her back for my upbringing, or else she would disown me. I'm still emotionally connected to her, so even though I wanted to teach her a lesson, I took a different course of action rather than simply breaking away from her. I reduced the amount I paid her monthly. She was devastated when I contacted her after not responding for a week. Well, I told her I would not help pay her new debts and would only clear the ones I was already dealing with, and she went ahead to oblige. Well, like a child, atoning for her mistake. Thankfully, it's been a few months now, and she has not bought anything new yet, and I'll keep paying off her debt since there's much left to pay. I'm still in this city, working diligently and looking for more and better opportunities. And in the end, I'm glad that the whole payment for upbringing turned out to be a bluff of total crap. I received a call from Dad the other day, but I hid everything from him, or else his blood pressure level could have reached the roof. I'm planning on going to see him in a few days, and I'll share some more details with him.
Man, so OP, he was going through a lot in this story. I mean, his mother was taking advantage of him. He knew it, though. She was dealing with loan sharks, money lenders. She had so much massive debt from the banks. But there was a lot of commenters who were basically saying, you know what? We get it. It's your mother. You want to help her out. She was there for you and your father wasn't. But at the same time, dude, you're getting ran all over, walked on like a floor mat. You can't just allow people to charge you money for no good reason when they're not even thankful for it. So I do want to hear from you guys about that perspective. Here's the question. Do you think OP was a floor mat? Let me know your thoughts about it, guys. Drop your opinions in the comment section. And like always, I'll see you guys in the comment section. I love replying and reading all my viewers' comments and perspectives on the story, so I'll see you guys down there. If you're new, though, go ahead, subscribe to the channel for daily videos. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, and do remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.